Well, good morning. Today I'm talking with my buddy Shawn Martin again, and today we're going to discuss his salvation experience and what happened in his life. And Shawn has made some awesome strides these days.
Well, thank you very
and
much.
he's going to a land that no one has ever gone to before.
Yeah, something like that.
No human
No.
has ever gone there before. So let's go way back. Tell me about your childhood and where you were and all that.
Well, my childhood, it was fairly typical, other than my parents divorcing it when I was 2 years old. And I didn't get to see much of my real dad, but my mom, she managed to hook up with this fella who she dated for several years, but he was a violent drunk. He'd get drunk and he'd beat up my mom. Every time he drank, he beat up my mom. And so I kind of, for the first, I don't know, until I was about 13 years old, that's what was my weekly experience, is that the getting drunk, violence, getting drunk, violence over and over again. That was spun out until I was about 15, 16 years old. And what happened is that the whole time I started getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And here we are.
One day I was, 6'4", 220 pounds, and he wasn't. So the day came when I was finally bigger than him, and through violence, I removed him from our lives. And haven't seen or heard from him since.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Never came back.
Never came back. And
your mom was okay with that?
well, she was really okay with that, because she couldn't. It's the funny thing, Charles,
Couldn't
about
break the chain.
yeah, it's the funny thing about domestic violence. Many people say, well, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just leave? Well, that sounds easy and it sounds very logical. Not so easy in practice, because what happens is I know from my mom's, she lived for the good times, because when the good times were good, they were really good.
Okay.
Right? And those also came around once a week. So you have this balance, man, if you could just leave the alcohol alone, and because of the good times, you believe in the person, but it just never goes away. I mean, that's that cycle. It just doesn't, it's a crazy cycle.
So did the alcohol, how did you process that? Did you view it as something I should do, shouldn't do, what?
Well, so the main stability in my life was my grandfather. And he was a veteran of World War II.
Okay.
He fought in the Battle of the Bulge. And he came back from the war with some specific, problems, nightmares and whatnot. And he was a heavy drinker. Self-medicating. In fact, I heard stories of when my grandmother would go to the store, she would buy one buggy full of groceries and another buggy full of Budweiser.
Oh boy.
Well, so from a very early age, so all this working together, from a very early age, my grandfather, he would send me down to the back. They had a whole refrigerator dedicated to Budweiser. He would send me to the back room to get a can of Budweiser for him.
Okay.
Well, the day came when I was big enough to learn how to open the can myself. What, 5, 6 years old? And that was back when they had them rip top cans.
Yeah, you tear them off.
So there it went, right? So the day came when, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, the can of Budweiser was just about gone by the time I got it back to him. And my grandpa never let me go back and get Budweiser for him anymore. And that was the last time. But that was my first drink, 5, 6 years old, first time I drank beer. But anyhow, so I kind of was around it my entire childhood.
So did you think this is bad, this is normal, this is good? What did you think?
Well, I had to say, I would tell you, I would think it was normal. This is just what
This is life.
This is what men do.
Men get drunk.
We drink Budweiser, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and that's kind of what we do. We kick the crap out of our
beat their wives.
Yeah, beat our wives. That's what we do. Now my grandfather, he was never a violent man, but yet he drank a lot. And well, the day came when he had to quit, because the doctor said, "Hey, look, stop drinking Budweiser or die." Well, for me, he's like, "Well, I want to see my grandson grow up," so he quit drinking cold turkey.
Okay.
And he was, a model citizen from that point on.
I thought you said wild turkey. But
Well, funny thing about wild turkey.
Oh, okay.
There's, you hear the drinking stories around the campfire.
I'm not supposed to know this stuff,
Oh yeah. You are a wild
I know,
turkey,
yeah.
So I hear stories around the campfire about my family. I mean, I come from a long line of alcoholics. I mean, that's something we pass down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the generational curse that the Bible talks about. I don't know. But I hear stories about, my great-grandfather and my grandfather sitting on the blade of a bulldozer, handing my dad, 10 years old, a bottle of wild turkey.
Oh,
I mean, so that's just kind of,
you brought each other up that way.
Brought each other up that way.
No, so you were a pretty good student in school, I hear.
I was, honor roll.
Honor roll?
Eagle Scout.
Oh my.
Yeah, I was an Eagle Scout. Yeah.
What was your Eagle Scout project?
So the Troop 83 in Mitchellville, Iowa, we met at the Methodist Church in Mitchellville.
Okay.
And the scout leader was the Methodist Reverend there. And he needed, he wanted to build a nursery for the church. I'm like, I'll do that. So we designed, built, painted the nursery, all the furniture, the whole thing, and that was my project.
So an Eagle Scout has to have a project, create it, lead it, get other people
The
involved.
whole thing from beginning to end, yeah.
That's kind of a leadership trait.
Absolutely.
Not everybody has leadership skills.
Well, there's a lot of people who, in the rank before that's life scout. There's a lot. Most people can make life, but rarely do they make Eagle.
Okay.
But
All right.
that was
So
some success in my life.
at some point in your life, you took a really wrong turn.
Well, so I managed somehow, and I like I said, it just seemed normal to me, an everyday thing. I wasn't an alcoholic when I was young, although I was certainly around it. But the day came, and just very recently, it's been brought to my mind, and I had blocked this out for years, and just in the last couple of days, maybe God prepared me for this moment.
Okay.
One of the very first school shooting in Iowa happened in front of me. It was 1984 at Southeast Polk High School. I got to witness a murder-suicide.
Oh my.
And I'd forgotten all about that. I had blocked it out.
How old were you?
Well, in junior high.
Oh my.
So, I mean, this girl and guy, she broke up with him, and she's outside in the hallway, sitting on the floor, leaning up against the wall, doing her homework outside the door. He walked right up to her, shot her in the head, and turned the gun on him and shot himself in the head. Wow, that's something for a...
He showed her, didn't he?
Well, yeah, that'll show him. But that changed the entire trajectory, if I can say that word, thank you very much, of my high school career. Because at that point, I was having trouble fitting in. You know what I mean? I wasn't really a jock. I really wasn't an egghead. I couldn't find a group of my own.
Yeah.
And I had finally just started to find a group. I was going to be a peer helper.
A what?
A peer helper.
Peer helper, okay.
A counselor.
Okay,
Nothing, But that was going to be my group. I was all set up. I'm like, yeah, finally starting to settle in. Got into public speaking class, all this stuff. Well, when this murder-suicide happened, the teacher that was going to run all that, she left school because she was counseling those kids and couldn't take it no more. So the place the niche I had found to fit in, gone, evaporated before me. Well, there you go.
Now, something happened with your dad.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened there?
So my dad, he's gone now. He's passed on. But he was not a good person by any means. He was a thug, a criminal. And at one point, when he was stealing a motorcycle out of this guy's house, the fellow was asleep. He woke up and got himself killed. So my dad went to prison for murder.
So the owner of the house got himself killed while your
killed.
dad was stealing a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So got himself killed means your dad shot him.
Yeah, well, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
The details are pretty hazy to me, but that's what happened. I know I've visited in prison a few times, but so, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
Well, what happened after that?
Well, so, I mean, between the violence at home, I'd finally had all these raging hormones. I'm 16 years old. I'm a big kid. I just beat up my first man,
Yeah.
Right? All this alcohol. I turned to marijuana. I turned to alcohol. I went and got my GED. I'm like, these teachers are stupid. All these things are stupid. High school's stupid.
Too slow for me.
Too slow. Well, that was kind of the excuse I used.
I know.
So I just went and got my GED in a week. Well, when I took all the tests, I'm testing out of high school. I'm out of here. You guys are dumb. So that's what I did.
Did the kids at school, how'd they respond to the murder?
Well, so, small town Iowa, everybody knows everybody's business.
Okay.
It was brought up in math class. I remember like it was yesterday.
Math class.
I'm sitting there in math class, and I really did not like this math teacher. Did not like him. Also stupid.
I've never met a math teacher I like.
Right. Sorry, Bill. Anyhow, so the one of the fellas that his dad went to high school with my dad.
Okay.
Well, so the story came out there in class, and now my dad's a murderer in front of all these people. I mean, humiliating, right? And that was really the straw that broke the camel's back for me. So I became a real...
So everybody said that's the murderer's kid right there.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Like bullying?
No, well, I was too big to bully. There was not much...
Okay.
If there was any bullying going on,
Yeah.
that was me, right?
Okay.
But they were not kind by any means. I was an outcast for sure. I was the guy with the fast car, the Arthur Fonzarelli of the group, right? Had the fast car, smoked the marijuana, drank the beer, threw the beer cans on the high school parking lot. What are you going to do about it?
Just to show.
I'll show you. And I was a real wheel.
So that started you down a...
Started me down a path. Now here's the thing.
Okay.
It was a slow path. I mean, it's not like I turned into a raging alcoholic and I was waking up in my own vomit every night. It just turned into dabbling.
That happened later.
Partying, right? Yeah, I went to college.
Okay.
To be a mechanic, and I managed to do that and got a good job and maintained a good job, and relationships fairly well. I had promised myself, because I watched my mom get beat up on a daily basis just about, that I would never do that, which I maintained that promise to myself pretty well. I mean, I didn't, I wasn't an abuser, but the college life, there's parties, there's marijuana, that turned into harder drugs.
Okay.
That turned into selling them. And it just, it's just progression, and still had the good job, still had nice cars, and making it work.
Yeah.
That's a fleeting thing.
And you had this dream about marijuana. And what were you going to do?
Yeah, well, later on in life, this is a long time later on in life, when they legalized marijuana in Colorado.
Okay.
My plan was, and this is before I knew the Lord, of course, my plan was I was going to go to Colorado, grow marijuana, and hunt Bigfoot. Because that's what you do when you smoke marijuana. You hunt Bigfoot.
And hope you
Obviously.
And hope you don't find him.
Well, right,
Yeah. Then what, right?
You smoke the right kind of marijuana, you see him every time.
All right. So when do you think you would call yourself an addict?
When I started the methamphetamine, because the alcohol.
What age would that have been?
In my early 20s, I'd say probably 22 or 23.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I found methamphetamine through a guy at work. He was using it. So, I remember the day that happened too. I was at a party. I went into the bathroom. I did a line. I looked at myself straight square in the mirror and I said, "What are you doing?" And that was. And I remember that day. I remember that moment.
You took
I
the turn.
remember thinking at that moment that I would always remember that moment.
And you have.
And I have, yeah. That was the moment where I knew that it.
So early 20s and addict. How long then after that?
Well, so it was about a 20-year run.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And
Of selling, and my drug life just wasn't about drugs. See, many people want to pin a particular chemical addiction on me, which, my addiction sure included alcohol, sure included marijuana and drugs, but my addiction really was about sin. Let me just boil it down. My motto was, if it feels good, do it.
Okay.
And that encompasses everything that you might want to think about.
Yeah.
Right? So I just love to sin. Sin.
Sin will take you further than you want to go, cost you more than you want to pay, and keep you longer than you want to stay.
That's for sure.
All right, so now we got a 20-year addict, and how did that work? Did you ever cost you your job, or?
Not directly, but yeah. Okay. So it's not like they caught me with drugs, or I took a dirty UA or anything like that. But I had a really good job with the city of Des Moines. I mean, really good job as a mechanic there, and but I was getting high in the bathroom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I'd get a lot of work done. They loved me, boy. I was their star employee. But they didn't know that it was all driven on methamphetamine. But that lifestyle caught up to me. And I just couldn't. I ended up not showing up to work. Those sort of things. So indirectly, yeah, the drugs got my jobs a couple times.
And you ended up on the street at some point, or?
Yeah. So it's for me. I was battling this idea that I could still handle it on my own. I don't need no help from anybody. Although that didn't stop me from asking my mom for help every chance that I got, right? You know, and boy, she sure did try to help me over and over again. Did she try to help me? Loves her son, always trying to do right by him. But as it turns out, and no, you don't know until you know. Enabling is the wrong thing to do.
I know.
Right? Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I'm a dad.
Okay. So, but the day came that she's like, I'm not doing it no more, Shawn. I'm not doing it no more. I'm not going to enable you any longer. And and that's when everything started to change. So I left her home in Iowa. This is Iowa. And walked, backpacked from Colfax, Iowa to Des Moines, Iowa. Lived with my aunt for a while, who's a meth dealer.
Oh, nice.
So that worked out.
Oh,
nice.
yeah,
that worked out good. So I hooked up with some other people, you know, and started selling, using, dealing.
Yeah.
And that literally took about 3 months before that was kaput. Middle of winter, Des Moines, Iowa, out on the street, ice under my feet. The first time in my entire life, no matter which direction I walked, it wouldn't have made any difference because every direction held the same thing. Nothing. Had nowhere to go. And boy, I tell you, I stood there freezing because I literally had no idea what to do. I was lost. I had no idea. I knew exactly where I was at, which was nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Finally, I called a pastor. I went to this little Baptist church in Reynolds, Iowa, and I called this pastor that I knew. Name is Pastor Scott. He came pick me up, took me to the homeless shelter there. Stayed there for 3 days, and then I realized that, hey, I begged, borrowed, and stole the money to get a bus ticket to get to Florida. Because I knew Florida.
And I'm not going to stand out in the cold
And
anymore.
I'm telling you what, if you're going to be homeless in the wintertime, you have a choice.
Go to Florida.
Florida's the best place to do it, which I think that's why we have such a high homeless population.
Could be.
But so I made it to Florida, and here I am homeless in Florida. Well, boy, for maybe about a year, I want to say. And so I was doing the thing down here, you know. I was robbing drug dealers, you know. You can't. That's not a good career. There's no retirement plan when you're robbing drug dealers. Turned into quite the thug, the homeless person, shoplifting, drinking. I mean, whatever. You know, I had the clothes on my back, a tent that I pitched behind the little church here in. Well, there's a little church next to Walmart here in Brandon or Valrico, and that was my spot. I kept everybody away from it because I know this is mine. I'm territorial. You know, just stay away from me. And I would go to the little Nazarene church here in Brandon every Saturday, get fed like the rest of the homeless folk.
So you found out all the homeless feedings and where to go.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long.
You can actually gain weight.
You actually can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I never flew a sign, they call it, you know, to get money. But because I was too busy robbing people when they flew the sign.
We'll drink for food.
Yeah, we'll drink for food. So when the people holding the sign would get the money, I would take it from them. So it's just
shortcut.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. So you got to go to your.
How long in the tent?
Go to your strength. Probably about a year. And here's something. There's a funny story. This is how crazy you can get when you're in that kind of place. So I'd be in this tent high right at night, and there'd be mosquitoes all over the top of my tent. So I'd take a cigarette lighter and I'd burn the mosquitoes off my tent. Burned holes in the top of my tent. Oh, that's a good one.
I used my foot. Yeah.
So there goes the honor roll student deal right out the window, right?
Yeah, Eagle Scout.
Yeah, that was smart. But anyhow, I remember thinking one day, and this is when I was getting close to my conversion experience.
Okay.
I was feeling pretty sorry for myself. You know, it's funny how God will send you Balaam's donkey from time to time, right?
Okay.
And I had a fella, nothing was ever my fault. I could always figure out a way to blame it on someone else. You know what I mean? And one day, Balaam's donkey showed up, and this fellow says to me, he says, "It's never your fault, is it, Shawn?" And I wanted to punch him in his head. It's like, how dare you say that to me?
Yeah.
But you know what? He was that sent me to thinking, could it possibly be me? Could it possibly be can I be the reason why I'm here in this tent?
Has it come to that?
I came to myself.
Like the prodigal son.
Like the prodigal son.
Came to
I
himself.
came to myself, right in the pig pen.
Now, there's two different thoughts there. One says an epiphany, and the other thought says nobody else to blame.
And I came to me.
Yeah, finally. Okay.
That's what happened. I came to myself. Here I am. I'm the one to blame. I'm like, wow, it's me. I can't believe it's me. And so through the course of a few days, right, this process started of me thinking, and I'm sitting there in this chair in front of my tent, getting high, if I remember right, this broken chair. You know, the chair had my rear end on the ground. That's how good a shape it was in. And I'm sitting there in shorts and a shirt with no sleeves on, and there's a breeze blowing through the trees, and I'm thinking, you know what? And this is wintertime. I'm thinking, you know what? I am so lucky to be here in Florida and homeless instead of in New York right now.
Okay.
And it's funny, you know, so I kind of started counting my blessings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
silver lining.
right. So I started getting this idea that, you know, something's got to change. Is this all there is to life? Just surviving every day? This what's my end game? Really, what is the end game to all this? Where is it going? And so the day it all changed, and believe it or not, I have a picture to commemorate this occasion.
Okay.
It was sent to me a couple weeks ago out of the blue, clear sky. Didn't even know this picture existed, but this is how God works. Of me, a picture of me getting fed up here at the Nazarene Church, and that's the day that I had tears in my eyes. I just broke down crying. The nice lady up there, Susan's her name, she shared the Lord with me. Now, I'd been baptized, and I'd been down the Romans Road and all that stuff a decade before.
Yeah.
I knew of the Lord. I mean, I knew the Bible a little bit, you know, enough to get saved, right? Enough to do that, but I wasn't following anything that I knew. And she kind of just put things in perspective for me. And that day, I went back to my tent, still feeling sorry for myself, and I just cried out to God, Lord, come and get me. That was my salvation prayer.
Come and get me.
Come and get me. And I promised the Lord, I said, I tried everything else, Charles. I knew I had to get a job or I'd never get off the street. So what I did was I got on my bicycle, started at the corner of Parsons Avenue and Highway 60 at the Walgreens, and filled in an application all the way up, every single business, all the way up Parsons, till you got to MLK.
Your tent.
And then turned around and come all the way back down.
Okay.
No one wanted to hire me. You know, they do this number here, they look out around me and see my bicycle sitting out there.
And they smell you.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't get a job, but I tried everything on my own, and I said, Lord, just come and get me, and I'll do whatever you say. Had no idea how that was going to work.
Okay.
You know, and I really, honestly, I expected, as funny as this may sound, I expected something cool to happen, like, you know, I don't know, like a bright light starts shining on me, like you see that picture of Jesus in the garden, the bright light. You know, some angel wings fluttering.
There we go.
Something. Someone showing up in some white linen. Give me something, Lord, right? I don't know. But none of that happened. But what did happen is that I had this little thought, and the only way I can explain it, it's a little thought in my head, read your Bible. Well, I've been carrying around this beat up old Bible for that's the only possession I really had, and I had no idea why I was carrying it around. Until that moment.
Okay.
And I started reading that thing, Charles, boy, I started reading that thing fervently. About set the pages on fire, I was reading it so much.
Okay.
And when I got to parts that says, you know, do this, I would do that. When it said don't do that, I would not do that. I would stop it, you know, I just kind of, and it's amazing how just reading the Word of God, Charles, within a week, started to change my life, change my perspective, change my tone. By this time, I still didn't have a job yet, but I stopped stealing. I stopped drinking.
Okay.
I stopped using drugs. There was still some marijuana use for a little while after that, but not long. I wasn't a thug anymore, still living in the tent. And when you know it, probably about a week, maybe two after I surrendered my life to Christ, I had the opportunity to get a job. And how this happened, it was incredible. A guy I knew lived close to a place where Marcia, she wanted to get a bicycle.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I can't ride two bicycles. So I called up Mike and I said, Mike, would you haul this bicycle to Marcia's for me? Well, I went down there to see Mike, and Mike says, well, I don't think I'm just going to close up the business. I'm like, why? What's going on? He said, well, the guy who runs my truck got killed in a motorcycle accident yesterday.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, well, I'm available.
I need a job.
And that's how I got my first job after I surrendered my life. And what? You know, only God can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kill people for your sake.
Well, I mean, you know, put me in the right place.
Okay.
Put me in the right place.
Okay.
To get the opportunity. So I worked every single day for this guy. I mean, getting paid under the table.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But I showed up every single day. I read Colossians 3:23, which says, in all that you do, do heartily as if you're working for the Lord and not for man.
Okay.
So that's the way I did this. For a year went by. Didn't miss a day, which is kind of unlike me.
Okay.
Showed up, and so I started saving a little bit of money. I was riding my bicycle at the beginning, from the tent to the job. Saved up enough money to get a little vehicle. In fact, Marcia, she was my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. She got a little money from her dad, and we kind of put that on a little vehicle. So now I'm living in the back of a Blazer, right? And the thing is, I read the part about tithing in the Bible.
Okay.
And here I am, homeless. And I remember the day this happened. I read that, and I'm sitting there with money in my hand, and I'm living behind a church. And I was like, Lord, I have no idea how this is going to work out, me being homeless and all. But if you want 10%, I guess here you go.
Yeah.
And I started tithing as a homeless person.
Okay.
And God blessed that. God absolutely blessed that. And so...
all right, I want to fast forward now to Bell Shoals. So
Okay,
you
let's do
ended
it.
up landing at Bell Shoals Baptist Church
I did.
somewhere. And then what happened?
Well, so we ended up at Bell Shoals, and we started going to Bible study, Eddie Mercer's Bible study, as a matter of fact. And when Marcia and we first found Jesus, boy, we wanted everyone to know about Jesus.
Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah.
But we were telling everyone. In fact, funny story, I led the pastor of the Nazarene Church to the Lord. I figured he needed to hear about Jesus.
That's not a funny story. That's a sad story.
Well, so, in fact, that was my first sermon. That Sunday after I led him to the Lord, he's like, "Can you preach that message at my church?" I'm like,
I got deacons that need saving.
I had barely started reading the Bible. He wants me to preach a sermon.
Yeah.
So I went and demolished that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we were at Bell Shoals, and we were getting up every Sunday talking about all the people we led to the Lord.
Okay.
We thought that's just what you do at Bible study.
Okay.
We didn't know any better. Well, people were looking at us kind of like we had three heads. And we finally started getting the idea that maybe that's not what you do. 'Cause
Okay.
no one else was doing it. When in Rome, right?
Yeah.
So the time came where you came along, and he says to me, "Where did you come from?" Just like that.
Did I?
He was like, "Where did you come from?" Just like that.
Sounds like me.
You know how you talk. At the moment, I just come from the restroom. I was driving my hands from the restroom. It's like, no. That's how you talk. So I gave you my testimony right there in the Eddie Mercer's class, and that was about a week later. You said to me, I'd like to get to know you better. Can I come to your house?
Okay.
I'm like, sure, why not? And so about a week later, you were there on my sofa, and we did a little bit of talking, and we hooked up, and I've been...
you said, so what's this all about?
Yeah, so why are you here?
And I said, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, and we did. And here's what was happening. So I was working for this sign company, and probably about a week before you and I, or maybe 2 weeks, whatever, you and I were at my house sitting. I was standing on top of the 2001 Space Odyssey strip club.
Oh, yeah.
Fixing neon in broad daylight.
Okay.
And I'm standing there, sun beating down on me, standing on top of the roof of this place where everybody passing by could see me. And I remember thinking, Lord, is this what all you got for me? I'm hoping someone from Bell Shoals don't see me up
working
here, right?
at a strip club.
Yeah. And it just didn't seem quite right.
Okay.
So
I asked you, do you
well,
have any skills?
do I have any skills?
And you said, yes, I'm a heavy equipment mechanic.
Which I am by trade, right?
If it's yellow, I can fix it.
I can fix it.
Well, in my history, have a corporate chaplain.
Yeah.
I worked as a chaplain for a company that did underground utilities. Everything they had was yellow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I called him right then, the company owner.
Yeah.
I said, I got a guy. He said, hook him up with...
Rich cutting.
Rich, okay, Rich. And so I got with Rich, and that night we said, do you have a resume?
Right.
And you said, I don't have a printer. So I took out a napkin.
Took out a napkin, that's right.
Wrote your resume down on a napkin.
And you said you were going to go print it off and do it. You hand Rich the napkin.
Handed Rich the napkin. I said, I got a guy, I think he might fit good, and why don't you give it a try?
Yeah.
So what happened?
So he gave me a call, and this place is literally 7 minutes from my house.
Okay.
7 minutes from my house. I went and saw Rich, and we hit it off, and I got the job there as the lube tech. I did all the oil changes and stuff on the equipment and whatnot, and Did that for about, I don't know, 2 years. And next thing you know.
How about the Bible study? You started going to Bible study?
Oh, yeah, I started going to Bible study. Of course, Dallas One, that's the place I work now, and that's the place that Charles and I are talking about. We have Bible study, of course. It's a Christian company.
Okay.
Serving Christ through construction is our mantra. And so I got to know some of the people. Paul Lancaster, he was the chief ministry officer at the time.
Okay.
He was the president, and he was kind of, on his way out to retirement, and he was the CMO. And I kind of hit it off with him. Well, next thing you know, I'm teaching a Bible study here and there. And,
okay.
And when Paul went ahead and retired, the president, owner of Dallas One asked me if I wanted to be the chief ministry officer.
So do you remember me taking you to Zephyr Hills Prison?
I do.
I said, now I want you to preach. Get up and preach. And you had 27 pages of notes.
Oh, I'm telling you, what a work in progress I am.
And so you got up. We have an hour and 15 minutes to preach.
Who in the right mind can preach for an hour and 15 minutes?
I know. Right? So what happened?
So I got up there with, I don't know, that many notes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going through these things. So it took me about 20 minutes to go through about 40 pages of notes.
And then you said, I got nothing.
Okay, and I got nothing. And I went and sat down.
And I had to work the next hour.
Work the next hour,
Okay.
Well, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it, right?
And one thing I did was I told Eddie Mercer that you needed to teach.
Yeah.
I said, put him up there as much as you can. Get him up there, get him up there, get him up there, teaching that Sunday school class. He's got a good class of about 40 or 50 people, maybe.
Well, the thing on the roll is 90, but 40 or 50 show up at one time.
Yeah. And there's some pretty smart people in there.
There's some. Yeah, there are.
School teachers, computer programmers.
Pastors.
Oh, that's right. Retired pastors.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's no joke.
All right, so fast forward. Where did this all go? What is a chief ministry officer, by the way?
Well,
most companies never heard of such a thing.
So Dallas One is a ministry
okay.
that's funded by construction. Many people look at us and say, oh, yeah, there's that construction company. But no, we're not really a construction company. We're a ministry that the construction side of it funds this ministry. So what we do is we donate money and do various outreaches and inreaches and different things like that. And I kind of just oversee all that.
Well, we missed the point where you got appointed as chief ministry officer after Paul retired.
Right.
So to this day now, you are the chief ministry officer.
For 2 years now.
Of Dallas One Construction.
Yeah.
2 years?
2 years now.
Oh my gosh, hard to believe.
Isn't it though?
And so you've had quite a journey, haven't you?
I have, and part of now here's the thing. And I look back and I say, man, Lord, and I kept saying this to the Lord, you got the wrong guy. Are you sure you got the right guy?
Yep.
And every time I would say that to the Lord, he would give me something else to do. I mean, it's just funny how that worked. In fact, when I first started kind of getting into ministry a little bit, I didn't know how to pray so very well. And I was afraid to pray in public. And I said, Lord, teach me how to pray. Well, the thing everyone's asked me to pray out loud in front of people. I'm like, well, I ain't quite what I had in mind,
there
Lord.
It goes.
But,
yeah, there it goes. Yeah.
But kind of worked through that. And, I started out this journey not equipped for any of this at all. And I'm still not really. I mean, I'm not that smart. I'm not that special. I'm just a guy who's willing to do what the Lord wants him to do.
And you have this interest in reading the scripture.
Well, yeah, I think that's key to the whole.
So you do a lot of Bible reading?
I do. I read my Bible through once the first time to get an overview.
Okay.
Right? Seemed logical. Then I started going back and just studying different places. By that time you were asking me to do sermons and lessons and stuff. And so I would study. I would pick a subject, and I still do this. I pick a subject, and I go to the very end of it as far as I can go. Like scrolls, for example.
Yeah.
Like scrolls in the Bible. What are those all about? So I study scrolls until I get them all figured out. Then I move on to the next thing. And that's kind of what I do. And then, a few years later, you think you know everything about one subject. You find out you knew about that much.
I know.
You gotta go do it again,
I've been doing this 5 decades.
Right, so you know what I'm talking about. But one of the cool things that's been that I personally have noticed, it goes back to them notes, that big stack of notes the first night. because I was always afraid I was going to forget what I wanted to say,
Yeah.
right? So, but the notes, I was like, okay, this was the walk of faith for me, right? Because I was afraid, I had to have all the notes. They were my security blanket. But what I did was, as I started in faith, the notes went from notes to outlines, from outlines to bullet points, from bullet points to now I have post-it notes once in a while that I put on a page or two.
Yep,
I want
yep.
to remember something, and I try not to run with notes at all now because I just kind of I study as much as I possibly can,
Yep.
and then just hopefully I say, God, I pray every time before I get up.
I told you
Lord,
early
show up.
on, you become a slave to those notes.
Yes.
And the problem with a note is you have to look at it and you have to read it to yourself to see if I want to read it out loud. And it wasn't in your train of thought,
Right.
so it just ruins your flow.
Yeah, it ruins the flow.
Ruins
It's very
your flow.
clumsy.
Yeah.
And not that I've really, I don't know. I guess I'm getting better. I still need practice, but
So you've had quite a journey. So let me just bring up this one little point
Yeah.
that I think maybe we'll end on.
sure.
This Christian experience, I think it's really a mentorship experience.
Well, absolutely.
I think you must have someone that mentors you, or you just kind of roam and get lost.
That's exactly right.
So everybody that's watching this should say, who am I mentoring? Because I think it's God's intention that you mentor the next guy, and isn't that, after all, called discipleship?
Isn't that true?
So
And that's kind of what I think that's the natural progression of things.
should be.
I mean, you can only take so much stuff in. Hey, look, if you're 40 years old,
Yeah.
you have the experience, even may not know the Bible as well as you could,
Yeah.
but you have life experience. You can come alongside
Yeah.
someone. If you know the Lord will show up and He'll
Yeah.
help you through it. It's time to turn and start discipling somebody. Without you and Eddie and a couple other guys that were sent into my life, I would be out
Yeah.
roaming around trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But you guys helped me get on the path, set me in a certain direction.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'm doing a podcast via the Facebook and Zoom because of the COVID-19
Yeah, yeah.
situation.
And then what are you doing after church?
And then we're going down with 9 signs
Okay.
to have a kind of a Burma shaped
Okay,
message.
okay,
right?
yeah.
I got 9 people. Now we're going to be 10, 15 feet apart. So although, don't
you can-
worry.
so you can read it
We're
slow, yeah.
social distancing.
Okay.
Right? And we're just going to go out and share the love of Jesus. Because when
You got some guys going with you.
we got guys from VC going
Okay,
with us.
okay.
We got 3 going with us from Vocational Church. We got a couple chaplains that are going to go with us. a couple
very
people from
nice.
Bell Souls.
Very nice.
And you know what? It's just the thing is, every time we go out, we just want to hold a sign, and the Lord brings the right people to us.
Yeah.
The last time we went out on Palm Sunday, got the opportunity to witness to 3 people.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just if you go through life, look, how can you know about the resurrection? How can you believe that in your heart and not want to tell everybody about it? This guy raised from the dead.
It's a game changer.
He's the only one in history who has raised from the dead
Yeah.
bodily. And you know that information. Who would you not want to tell that to?
Religion's got nothing on that story.
Oh,
does it?
religion.
Yeah. All right, so I think in the land of the blind, a one-eyed man is king. So
Yeah.
I don't care where you are in your journey, there's somebody you can bring along that needs the help that you have.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
so that'd be my recommendation.
And I'm always willing to help. I mean, kind of what you've taught me to do is, instead of adding, start multiplying.
Yes.
So what I've started to do, I have a disciple or 2 of my own.
Okay.
But I'm making disciples who make disciples.
That's it.
So if you ever need any help, I'm always available. I'm always available to guide you through some discipleship and.
If you're not making a disciple, you're probably not a disciple. Oh.
That'll sting.
All right, I know.
Now you're just meddling.
All right, I'm going to pray out,
Please.
and then we're going to go. Now, Lord, I thank you for my friend Shawn and bringing him into my life. And I thank you for the salvation that you've given him. And I pray that you will keep him on that path. And when you start serving God, you get a bullseye on your back. We all know that.
Yes.
And I pray that you'll put a hedge of protection around about him. And this is just the beginning for him in his life. And I pray you'll bless him now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.